great.
Um, so if we're actors in a play, and we can snap our fingers and change the characters. Like if we're watching a play and they were really, oh, I'm getting goosebumps again, and they were really to do that, we'd be like, well, wait a minute, where's the character development? How did this happen?
Goosebumps. You're onto
How did
something.
it, right? Like, where did this, how, well, that doesn't explain what happened here. You ever watch a TV show and you're like, wait a minute, this
Like
isn't
that's
even,
not real. Yeah.
yeah. Or like, they totally forgot about this one character. So it's like, and
Interesting.
it's almost like what I'm being shown a picture of is zooming out and seeing like a play, almost like the Truman Story. Do you remember that movie, The Truman Show?
It's been a
And
while.
if somebody just wouldn't have shown up in his neighborhood, they would have had to say like that person died. But they were written into the show. You'd be like, well, what about their dog and their house and their kids? Like,
Right. So yeah, so in this time space reality that we're navigating still, it has to have linear progression of events in a
I
way.
think so. I mean, that's what I'm getting when I ask that question. Like, why can't we just snap our fingers and just have it disappear? There was another movie I watched a long time ago where they would sneak in like in the middle of the night and change everything, and then people would wake up and they'd just be like, "Oh, this is my new reality."
Yeah.
It was like I don't remember what that movie was. It was super, but it made you go like
Yeah.
just this idea that we wake up and we're a new person every day. I mean, it could shift. I'd say that some of the stuff I've seen in my life, in my relationship too, has like all of a sudden one day I woke up and I'm like, this is sticking. Like, this is,
This is new.
yeah. So I think it's also more subtle than we notice sometimes. And then all of a sudden, so it could be this
Mm.
brand new person just shows up in your reality and you're like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. You're not at all the person who you were 6 months ago.
Right.
Or it could be a person that represents something brand new
Yeah.
that we are not looking for, but it's matching us because we are that brand new person.
Right.
But it's almost like there's certain, what I'm hearing, little chapters we have to close out first that we can't quite understand why, but it ties the story together.
Really makes sense.
Goosebumps
You know,
again.
I'm getting
Phew.
I'm getting the word revision. Revision. Doesn't Neville Goddard have some kind of like revision thing where you go back and you actually I know this is tied to what we've talked about before, but it's relevant. Like as we're rewriting, we're revising how we see obviously this past. And as like the more that we do that, the more that we revise how we see our past, the more it's going to show up for us.
Yeah.
So we have to like, I don't know, I'm seeing like lots of writing and just like we do have to be actively revising maybe for
Yeah.
some faster. I don't know.
Well, what you're saying is exactly what I've been seeing too.
Okay.
What word have they been using? I don't even want to use the word they anymore, but I do just out of habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the word that I'm hearing from my higher self. It's this. By the way, revision's a perfect word because
Mm,
you're looking back and you're seeing it from a different perspective, your vision.
I love that. I love that.
And there's something about that, like revision. So I'm hearing re-envision, right? So now you're able to say, okay, I see that. And it's kind of the parentheses again.
Okay.
Almost,
Yes.
right? We're adding this up and then we're saying this is what I want moving forward, but it's not quite complete.
Yeah.
Or from a higher perspective, it's already complete, but there's certain aspects that we need to feel, experience, or see for it to feel like it's more complete.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Oh my
Hence revising. Yeah, like so I don't know. This is what I'm seeing. I think it's cheeky. He's so funny. He's like, yeah, you're playing. He's literally like, you guys are playing. I want to play. Do you see? Yeah, he's so excited. Um, so he was just showing me part of revising is like going back and looking at like almost like we would say this would be bypassing in the past, but he's saying literally write it how you wish it would have gone.
God. Ooh.
What he just said. not how it went or how you want to see it, but like literally write a new story of your past. So like however you wanted that to play out, write it.
Ooh, I like that.
I don't know. We would have called that, that's funny. We would have been conditioned to call that emotional or spiritual bypassing in the past, but I'm hearing that. Isn't that funny? Right? But no, that's maybe something we'd need to do.
Well, what's fun about that too is, oh, it's so funny you said Neville and there's a Norville book on the miracle power of transcendental meditation.
Ooh,
I have so many books I've not read. they're just they're just all here giving me vibes.
love it. They're like, hey, we're talking to you.
I'm just absorbing them through the paper. Um, so when you write, ironically, books, hello, writing,
Right? I know.
this is the past.
So good.
Oh, and our irony in that is transcendental meditation. What do we think we're doing when we're going back and it's like womb work? You know,
Ah,
when you go back and you visit your mother's womb and then you tell yourself while you're in it in a vision, that is, I don't know if you've ever done that. It is intense. Um, oh, I'm getting goosebumps on that one too. So it's like going back and what I'm hearing is receiving yourself. Almost like that's an example of going, you go back into the womb, you visualize being inside of the womb, you're healing the mother's womb, you're talking to you as an embryo, as a baby getting ready to be born. You're coaching yourself through the birthing canal. And then once you come out, you can actually talk to yourself as an angel or you now as your mother's holding you, telling
wow.
you all the things you wish somebody would have told you when you were a baby
In the womb, even.
in the womb too. Like I went back and I told my mother things. Oh, I have goosebumps everywhere. I said things to my mother like because my parents divorced.
Mhm.
So, and it was a very tumultuous time for her to be pregnant, with her relationship with my father and the fact that they moved around a lot. So it was always a little unsure, I think. So I would say things to her like, you're going to be okay. Your daughter loves you. Your womb is healed. And what that does, theoretically, energetically, is kind of prepares the womb for your siblings if you're the eldest.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know. I'm really going off on a tangent here, but
No.
that is a version of going back into that space. And
So isn't that what, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I interrupted you.
no, is it? So Cheeky is talking about rewriting it. Like you could even write, my birth was, this or whatever, and envision, like you said, revision that to what you wanted it to be. And theoretically, I don't know if that's spiritually bypassing completely. It's just part of the work.
Hmm. Yeah. It's not, yeah, like, yeah, something about that, like writing what you wish would have happened. But then it's kind of like what Bashar said, you can literally change your past.
Yeah. And it's doing it with feeling. So I think spiritual bypassing would be like, from my perspective, what I'm seeing is people like, I had a great childhood. My family was wonderful. And that's how it was. So I'm not going to deal with any of the real
Yeah,
issues. Like
right.
that's a bypass. But if you're actually going back in, ooh, I'm getting goosebumps again, and you're envisioning maybe some of the things that happened before, and then you're revisioning it. So what Cheeky used was revision, or whomever, your guide, which is then redoing it.
So like almost like a visualization of going through it again. This is the lucid dream.
Yeah,
This is it. This is a
this
lucid
is
dream.
it. And this is the parentheses, being able to go forward, backwards, and you're creating this. I can't get over it because it means so much more than
This
I'm.
is this is the snap of the fingers, just so you know. That's what that is.
Oh,
That's what that is. You can go back and literally say, nope, this is actually how it went. And that's
snap.
what do you see that? I don't know. I see it that
Well,
way.
when you said snapping of the fingers, I was hearing snapping together.
Like click, click, click. Yeah.
And also it's like, and so it is.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was doing a little bit of moving meditation before we connected because I was feeling these body quakes. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to, we're not going to get anything done. We're not going to get anything accomplished. But this is ironic. We might actually end up sharing this. Who knows?
At least parts of it. Yeah.
We're on a roll. But the beauty in this is, oh, the word that I heard was, sorry, as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, it shifted my vibration around it a little bit. That's funny. Good to know. Um, so I've been doing the moving meditation, and the word that I heard was, dang it, I lost it. Oh, you're snapping your fingers, going back in time. I was thinking of cellular memory. It'll come back to me. I'm not going to try to hang on to it.
It's like rewriting cellularly.
Yeah. So when I'm doing that body work on myself, I can have memories come up sometimes or thoughts. Mine were scattered thoughts, actually. And I was kind of being shown that I'm holding on to all these scattered thoughts a little bit, which is keeping me from really getting organized and staying in a linear pattern. It's almost like I'm holding that here, and then I'm holding that here, and then I'm holding it here, not realizing throughout my day that I'm picking this stuff up, which is my own stuff.
Right, right, right.
But going back to rewriting, rewiring. Oh well. They
It'll
gone.
it'll totally flood back in any minute now. Yeah. So the parenthesis, maybe this will trigger it, but the parentheses, like that is a time period, correct? Is that correct? Am I seeing that correctly? It's a period of time and it's kind of dependent on each person. That's what it feels like.
Well, the irony in the parentheses, what I'm being shown is like it's a false separation. It's a temporary border that allows you to complete an equation before the equation is completed, really. And I am not, this is just coming in. So I'm seeing the parentheses like 2 plus, you've got to add up what's inside of the parentheses first, right? Before you tack on what's after the parentheses, but you have to take into account what's before the parentheses. But it's like this thing that you use to kind of hold in a bubble. It's a holding pattern. So in theory, I'm looking at it from a multidimensional perspective, not exactly the mathematical answer to that, but it allows you to kind of be like, wait, add this up before you add up this other stuff. But then what I'm being shown is the irony in that is it's already added up. So once you erase those parentheses, you can see it all and still change it.
Interesting.
But there's something about what the time, oh, that was what you brought up was the time too. There's something about that, about where we are now as we're sharing this video, or maybe where we are energetically when we go through this parentheses holding pattern, because we're actually not, it's still active. We're still creating.
Yeah, exactly. You're not just sitting. Well, I'm curious your thoughts on this because like for the last week, I was just like super inward.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is this it? Because I wasn't trying to make that happen. It was just like, oh my God, like it was like so much space, not sure who I am, kind of a thing. I don't know who I am now. So maybe that's part of it, is just like this pull inward of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like it's part of some big process.
I feel like it is too, and I still get goosebumps around it. Like I'm hearing, yes, keep going, keep diving in. And so it's again, the inquiry.
Mm.
Inquiry was what I wrote the other day, where it's like questioning who, again, it goes back to the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. Who am I?
Right. Yes.
Or or Zoolander.
Merman.
Or man.
Yeah.
Who am I? But I feel like we do this, like we go through these periods of intense contemplation but I think we're doing it from a more aware
Yes.
space. Like you're aware as you're doing this. You're not like sucked up in the equation. Like you're over
Uh-huh.
here, you're over here. And you're like, okay, that was going on. This is potentially going on. I'm still not sure what this adds up to,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
I
I'm
think,
feeling it.
right. And maybe part of the, we'll say the parentheses part is like going inward and then revisioning.
Well, as soon as you said that, I was being shown, don't forget, or I was hearing, don't forget that this is written in chalk. So when you see those big equations on the board, they're written in chalk so you can erase them and change them. Oh, that's supposed to be a Y. That's supposed to be a Z. I don't know what that means, but you know what I mean? Like, that was
Yeah.
actually, oh, that doesn't add up. You got to go back in and take this out and add this. So it's like, that's what those allow us to do. So we're changing all of that. Something about this, like, bandwidth, this space. It's a
Oh.
bandwidth that we're like, I'm seeing the fun house when you're like, you know, when you're in the fun house and you're in that one part that's like before you get into the next
Yeah.
part or whatever. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Like, it's play with it.
Yeah.
It's
That's funny.
pliable.
I saw when you said chalk, I saw like sidewalk chalk. Like when you play
Ah,
hopscotch, like when kids play hopscotch.
yeah. Ooh. You know
I
what?
think
That came up in one of like something I wrote about a long time ago, but I don't remember it at all. Ooh,
there's something about being like children with this.
yes.
Playful. Well, you just said that, but like
Yeah.
kids play in that really, they don't have boundaries really for so they're just like, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna go over here and
Yeah.
I don't
And I'm
know.
going to draw my own game
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
with a piece of chalk on a piece of sidewalk that we usually walk on, but I'm going to hop and I'm going to put numbers attached to it. And
Goosebumps. There's something about that. Yep.
I'm curious about, like, I could dive in.
Is it yes?
Hold on a second. I got, well, just let me just pause for just a second because I'm going to answer
Yep.
my phone record and we'll decide if we're going to keep this or not. But one of the, I was just, so you asked these incredible questions. And I mean, you're a therapist, so you do that for your career to begin with, anyways. Plus, when you're doing your intuitive work, you're applying these questions. It's just this incredible, like, dynamic
Dance.
thing. Yeah, exactly. So for me, when somebody asks me, like, I think I ask really good questions too, but they're not the same way. They're more like if I'm listening to someone, which you'll probably attest to this, you just know what questions to ask sometimes. So you're just like, okay, not because of necessarily what you've been taught, but intuitively, maybe a little bit of both,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
not what
Yeah.
you've learned from books, what you've learned from experience, but also what you're tuning into intuitively.
Yep.
And for me, that's how I am with certain people when I'm working with them. I'll be called to like dig deeper, like, well, why are you asking that question? Or where is this really coming from? Or,
Yep.
but I'm blunt about it a little bit. Like, so, anyways, my point is sometimes that whole asking those questions, and it's funny because I know you've seen this before too, like you'll ask the question and then boom, 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 you get the answers
Yeah. Yeah.
from yourself a lot of the time too.
Totally.
Just like I'm working through this and
Yep.
I'm like, all right, well, I couldn't even catch up with that.
Never
But I
mind.
was having that happen to me a little bit too prior to our tuning in together because I was just like, well, what am I going to ask Jess today? Because I'm not really sure where I want to go with this and where I go. And then part of the answer was, well, how do you feel? Right? Which is what we're always guided to do. And I'm like, well, I feel like I can't be linear because I've got the body quakes and I'm really overly stimulated right now energetically,
Yep.
Kundalini. So this just happens to be the perfect organic exchange energetically because in essence what this does is this not only answers our questions together in a very multidimensional way, but it helps us to work through those energies a little bit.
Agreed. And I think more clarity will naturally come by being in this playful space.
Yeah,
Yep.
totally. And not it this is a perfect example of like getting out of our heads.
Yep. So true. Yep.
And it's so funny because I don't remember, I'm sorry we left off when I had that phone call, but I feel like I used to say get out of our head to get ahead.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But now I'm hearing like there again, it's coming back to everything is now. Oh, one of the things we've been talking about earlier was like relationships and like how are we drawing in? Like who are we drawing in and what does that look like?
Yep.
And I feel like the way in which we are creating, like you said, you went in, you've gone inward,
Yep.
and really just kind of feel different about what you're who you are, but you're not sure who you are yet, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But you feel different about it. I feel the same way.
Interesting.
I,
Yes.
I meant to get back to that earlier, and we're going back full circle because I don't. I feel like, and this happens with me a lot actually. In case you haven't noticed,
Yep.
that I do feel that it's like I don't really know what out of these parentheses right now. I'm not sure. Like I just can't tell.
Who you are? Is that what
Well,
you're saying?
what the future's gonna look like
Oh, no, I was just telling
for
my
me. I could tune
no,
into other people.
uh-huh. No, I'm the same way. So maybe if you're, if we share this, I just want you to know I said this exact same thing to Tammy this morning.
Mm,
I cannot see at all who I am and where I'm going. I have no idea. And I don't think we're meant to, right? I think we used to be able to a little bit easier. We're
yeah, and I think part of this
creative.
is coming back to the rewrite.
Okay. So like that's not written yet because we haven't written. Is
Yeah.
that kind of what you're getting to?
Yeah, so it's kind of simultaneously. Okay, this is super weird, but now my eyes are drawn to the astrology book, which I, by the way, have never opened. It was a gift.
That's
Thank
funny.
you, whoever got that for me, but I have not opened it. So and it's in gold. It's so beautiful. But my
That's
point is, I think that everything, it's almost like kind of what, I don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Does that come back to timing by chance? Because I feel like astrology kind of it's a way of seeing things a little bit linearly. I don't know. You
Okay,
mentioned
but
time.
so if we can rewrite our past, then wouldn't that mean we can rewrite astrology?
We can make our own chart potentially. We can write our own
Right,
chart.
which we've talked about. There
Yeah.
is this sense that if we're connecting into different dimensions all the time and those dimensions are lining up astrologically in slight variations, which Candace has talked about with all of this with us, um then it's starting to kind of make sense even though it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense here, but it makes sense like here.
Mhm. Yeah, so I feel like there's this, again, it's you use the word rewrite. My team kept saying reassess, access, reaccess. It's like, and you were seeing hopscotch, I was seeing jacks, and you know those little when you're playing pickup jacks or that game jacks, like
Yeah.
they're slightly changing, like they land it different every time, and there's
Mhm.
just something that's happening within our entire solar system, and that's a play on words, our soul or our system.
I just saw solar plexus too. Uh-huh. Power.
Power. So there's a power shift. So there's a power shift from one perspective from our ego to
Mhm.
something else now, or an absorption
Yeah, that's right.
or an integration, and it feels unfamiliar,
Yeah.
but it feels very familiar
Yeah.
at the same time
Yeah. I get the sense we've done this before in other dimensions. Yep.
in a slightly different way.
You said power shift, I heard pole shift. So
Oh, yeah.
that's
Ooh,
all.
goosebumps.
Yeah, pole shift.
That's so funny. And then as you're saying that, I'm thinking of power poles on a boat. Like you put a power pole in to kind of keep you from, um, straying off course if you're fishing, or it keeps you kind of in one space.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
but it's not permanent. It's not an anchor. It's
Mm-mm.
temporary. It's a very light way of doing that.
Mhm.
Woo! Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I was not intending to go into like, now I'm going off into so many different.
This is exactly what needed to happen today. I think.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Mhm.
I guess we're still recording.
We'll all trust that you'll edit out whatever, I think,
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, I have so much going on in my field right now. I'm just like, what do I even ask or talk about? Because yeah, it's like, okay, so let's talk, like, I want to talk about manifestation then, and like how, so for example, let's say, we've thought about manifestation from the space of like envisioning our future and what we want to pull that's over here to us or whatever. And I think it just works different now. It has manifesting what we want, I think has to do with rewriting the past. And
Yeah.
that's what it is.
I think so too. Okay, so there's like multiple ways of looking at it. Part of it is rewriting our past, saying what has, you know, in essence, I think that is actually easier than we're making it.
Mm.
I think there's something to doing that that could be helpful. Again, kind of going back to what we were talking about with the play,
Oh
like
yeah.
different characters. I don't know if we recorded that or not, but there's certain characters, like why can't we just snap our fingers and change the entire cast and the entire play? Maybe we can, but from a linear perspective, that would be weird. Like if you're watching a play and all of a sudden the next act comes out and you're missing all the pieces, right? So there's certain pieces that we're still picking up that are integral to finish or complete, right, where we're going, or to just say, okay, now we can. And I think in some ways that's already done, but there's a lot of little things that are still in the process of dissolving. Like I'm hearing, I don't even like to use the word anymore, contracts. I don't really, I don't
Oh,
love that word, like soul contracts and things
yeah,
like that.
no,
I've never been a huge fan.
that actually resonates. I just got goosebumps when you said it.
I've used it because that's what I've heard, but I just feel, and maybe it's different now. Maybe we're rewriting those soul contracts too.
That's what I was getting goosebumps on. Okay.
Ooh. So if we're rewriting a soul contract, we can go back and say, okay. But in some ways, I know I'm already hearing somebody going, you can't do that because then your cast, your character, you're going to be doing exactly what you said you shouldn't be doing in order for the play not to complete itself. Did we record that? I can't remember. So the gist
I
is
Yeah, go ahead.
we can't just snap our fingers and start a new play fresh because we have to allow certain things to play out that have already been in motion. Otherwise, the story doesn't make sense.
Yes.
But in addition to that, not only does the story not make sense, what I heard earlier that was more relevant was we want to, I'm hearing character development. So it's for our character development that this is actually happening in the way that it is in some ways. Our characters and the characters in our play.
Mm,
So, from one perspective, it isn't just about us. From
right.
another perspective, it's all of us. We are all of us.
Totally.
So, if we're starting to recognize that, the way in which we interact with our past and the things that we feel are necessary for our soul's growth, if we want to call it that, aren't necessarily going to be what we want anymore or
Right.
need,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, if we're going to call those soul contracts. So, from another perspective though, if you're going into that whole oneness, that is irrelevant too, because we're just going to organically make the decisions, meet the people, create what we want to create, most in alignment with what our soul needs or wants for its highest growth potential. We don't have to follow some contract that keeps us in line.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's like if there were, let's use the word contract. So maybe there's old contracts that are coming to completion. And even though we don't resonate with them anymore and they're not who we are now or where we're going, we still have to let them play out for character development. Am I saying this correctly?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm seeing. I'm trying to put
Oh,
it in
yeah.
words.
I'm totally with you there. I
This
think
is
that,
fun to think about too, because it almost gives us like freedom,
yes.
which we've always had, whatever, from a higher perspective, we've always been free. But from a 3D,
Yes.
linear, 4D perspective, right? So I'm just like inquiring, like go deeper. Like if this means we can change our reality and rewrite our past, that would mean all of our past, wouldn't it?
So can we, from this perspective, this is, okay, can we rewrite the old contracts? Or do we
Why
just,
not?
or, because it would inhibit character development?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay, okay.
So we're not like writing the contract and saying you're no longer in my play, you don't exist.
Got it, okay.
That would
That,
be mean. Although
yeah.
I can think of a few people.
I know, exactly, I know.
I don't know. I feel like that'll it almost organically happen, right? It's not like we have to go back in and recalculate, and so we're rewriting it, but we're not necessarily, so from a linear perspective, we're rewriting our reality by writing it down and journaling it. That could be very helpful.
Yeah.
From a multidimensional perspective, when we do that, we're changing our past.
Mhm. Mhm.
From another perspective, we're changing our past just by making the decision that we're changing our past.
Got it. Yeah.
When we feel and visualize it as a human, it shifts it in a very different way than it would by us just thinking about that differently. Because now we're using all of our senses. But in addition to that, if we are rewriting our contracts that are soul contracts, but our soul is feeling like we need to make some changes, wouldn't it just automatically, because we're at that higher frequency, it just is what it is.
It just is rewritten.
And so
That,
it is. Oh,
yeah,
that was what I was getting earlier. The word was, gosh, what is that quote about being poured into the body?
being poured.
The body is the word in, shoot, it's
Oh,
like a biblical term. I'll have to come back to that. But I was doing the moving intuition, and I'm just like, wait a minute. This is and the word, oh, and the word was made flesh.
ooh,
That was what came through earlier. And I was like, I forgot about that. Is that an actual quote from the Bible? I think it is.
and the word was made flesh. Okay.
So that's the whole thing. Like if we're saying it, and so it is.
Okay. Yeah. So,
That's why we're in the parentheses right now.
okay. Say it again. We're in the parentheses so we can say say it differently.
Well, also create, like, right? Like if we aren't sure about all of our stuff and we're saying stuff and we're like, I now demand that my soul contract, I cancel, clear, delete this person from my life. And our guides that know more than us, or our higher versions of us, are like, okay, but wait a minute. You haven't calculated in that in 3 weeks from now, in our linear time presentation, you're going to get into a fender bender. Nobody's really going to get hurt, but you're going to potentially meet someone who's actually going to be your child's teacher, that's going to actually allow, because of this interaction, they're going to, so on and so forth. Like that's such a wild scenario. I was going to say your soulmate, you're going to get in a car accident, meet your soulmate. But I mean, it could be something small. Like there's a lot of these little ripple interactions that are preconceived from what I understand, that we set up before this lifetime. But
Yeah.
if we're now in a different frequency and we're in a much more, you said it, and this is what I feel too, is it's the dream.
A lucid
It's
dream.
being lucid. So we're kind of controlling the dream, right? We're saying, all right, this is how I want the dream to go. I don't want to get in a car accident.
Right.
Maybe I can do it a different way.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we don't have to think about that as much. It's less I mean, I know I don't really understand how all that stuff works in linear terms, but I will say that what I'm getting is that it's lucid. So we are moving with fluidity, and it's not like, okay, we're going to do this, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, because we're operating from a higher dimensional perspective.
Mhm.
So therefore we're seeing our everything different. And if we're the ones that are the word made flesh, and we're the ones that are creating our reality through the words that we use to create our reality, it's going to shift all of those interactions, right? From my perspective. And I'm playing with this.
I think, no, I love that. I'm seeing, I've been getting, and you know this because we've been talking about it, but I have been feeling like I can't speak the same way because I recognize some of the things that I say are tying me to an old version of myself, even if I don't recognize. I'm telling the story of what has been, and as I'm speaking it, when you know, I had this huge activation of my throat chakra, probably like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago now,
Yeah.
that catalyzed me. And I think there's something about truth and then also rewriting through our voice right now is so, it's because that's the embodiment of it, is the
I
speak.
love the fact that you said that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so writing is one thing, but speaking, that's even more powerful.
yeah. The word made flesh.
Yes.
We're speaking it. Now
Yes.
I know that's a different meaning. But I'm playing with, playing
Mhm.
with sentences like I always do. Yeah, I love that you said that because I do find myself, mine tends to be my thought patterns that are words. They may
Right.
not be spoken out loud, but they're words which holds a frequency which I'm telling myself.
Yes.
And I find myself thinking that too about like other, I think one of the things that the guides were saying was get ready because people,
That's what I've been getting that
there's
too.
all kinds of stuff that they've said that I haven't shared, and I'm like, I'm not going to share that because potentials can change and
Yeah.
it's all about perspective. But there's actually a lot of channelers out there that are sharing a lot of crazy stuff right now, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Don't speak that. Yeah, no.
Cancel, clear, delete.
Totally.
There is a little something to that, which we could talk about also, but that's neither here nor there. I'm certainly not saying any of them are wrong or right, but there is a frequency and an energy to speaking into reality and writing it out that's casting a spell.
Yep.
I'm not saying they're casting spells, they're spelling out words that
Mhm.
essentially hold a frequency. And what we do with that is what I think then creates the momentum behind those stories. So the stories, so back to the words, the thoughts that are floating around in our frequency. And what the guides were saying is people that you don't necessarily like, they didn't say it this way, they said it much more eloquently, or that have been really naughty, may all of a sudden decide they are pro team humanity.
Huh.
And people are going to be like, what? I've got goosebumps everywhere. And this came in like, it's been coming in a lot more frequently. Like, get ready. Are you ready to forgive? I was just like, oh, I wonder.
So
It could be people in our lives, it could be political people, it could be, who knows? It could be a lot of different people. But what I'm being shown is that this is our true test to say, are you ready? Like, are you ready? So this, I think, ties in line with the words
Mhm.
that we're telling ourselves because these old stories may just
Yeah.
in the
And
snap of a finger.
oh my God, Carrie, this is so get ready. To me, feels like there's the world stage that we are going to see some stuff. That's my interpretation of what I've been seeing as well. In the next couple of months, that's
Yeah.
happening. And there's a ripple, that I think part of the reason we're being called to get rid of our old story, especially about ourselves and other people, is because we're going to be seeing that in our own life. And we have to be, well, like you said, get ready to receive people differently. And if we're holding them in this old version, we won't be able to receive them differently.
Yes. I love that. You're so right. Yeah. It is. I feel that way too. And it includes ourselves.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we have to start here. And it's the heart, of course, the heart. And I think that's relevant to the throat because I had a throat activation. And from my perspective, it comes and goes. It's not like, I don't know, some people they're activated, they're on, and that's it.
I
I
mean,
fluctuate.
me too.
I'm
Very much,
like, what happened?
right? Highs and lows.
Ah. But oh, so there's gonna be like this. It's so much. It's like it's not what some of this will be very organic and it'll just naturally, I think, happen and open, and we'll feel more at ease about our past. For me, I've had to really like you're aware that you're just not sure who you are moving forward, what that's going to look like for you. I feel the same way. And part of it is I keep hearing the word readjustment, which is kind of like rewrite.
Like it's a readjustment period.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of readjusting what we're saying, how we're saying it, how we're interpreting it.
Mhm.
And the biggest message that I've done like 4 videos on this, and I did it the other day, and I was like, really? Again? Like,
Interesting.
nobody's gonna want to hear this but it was feelings.
Feelings are our navigation. Is that what you mean? That's what
Well,
I,
they're everything.
okay.
But I'm still like processing this, so I'll let you know because I looked up another meeting and I found it on like a psychology website. So maybe we do need to talk. I would love to actually talk about this.
Okay. Yeah.
We should do a video just around this
Okay.
because I thought about you and I was like, okay, I bet you're gonna have some really awesome insights on this because, and I want to like totally pull it into this, but from my perspective, part of what we're feeling, sorry, my eyes were just drawn to another book, Walden's Pond, Pond on Walden. It's one of my old, I read this so long ago, and the thought just popped into my head like, if I went back, it was one of my favorite books when I was younger. I
Mm.
barely remember it, but I bet you if I went back and read it again, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Even though it's not written any different, it's going to read differently because of my perspective of how I'm reading it now. So I think that has a little bit to do with the rewrite.
The perspective shift. Totally.
Yeah. So I think all of those, like reading it differently, writing it down, play with all of it. And everybody's different. Some people are going to have their throat, heart. Oh, higher heart is what I was trying to get to.
Oh.
So it's like there's this, and I think, yeah,
No. Keep going.
I can't remember. No, you go. No, you go.
Okay. So
Gotta look up.
high heart has something to do, it's connected to emotion more so than even the heart. That's what I'm feeling.
Um,
Emotion.
well, I wanted to look. It is okay. So I was trying to figure out where this was because I think I knew that it's the clown chakra.
It is?
Remember how the other day you're like something about clown? I'm like, it's the clown. It's a real thing.
Oh my God. Okay.
Jovial.
That's exactly okay.
Jovial is the clown. So if we do decide to share this, Jovial is one of Jess's guides that's come into my life. And that's the other thing is we all share guides too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That'd be a really fun thing to talk about.
You've been working with the sacred clown and for a long time. He's definitely been in your pack for a while.
Heyoka.
Okay.
Heyoka. Hey, okay, no. Yeah, and at first I was it's frustrating working with the clown
Yes, it is.
when you're not in
Hello.
flow, just to share. So, but to play with that, on that note, the clown chakra. So I don't really know if that's what they call it, and I haven't done enough research on it because it was a flow for me years ago. I was driving my car. Is that when it happened? I think so. I was driving my car and I had started to have, and happens for a lot of people. I can't remember how it started for you, but like if I were to go back, I was like trying to recount my life, and I'm like, when did this all start? Um,
Good luck. No.
like I barely remember last week, let alone 10 years. Okay, but I do remember specifically about when we met, right before we met, was when everything, and I think 2011 was a big kicker for a lot of people, and it was for me too. I think that's when everything started to really open, although I'd been having, prophetic dreams since I was a kid. But, we do that, we oscillate, a lot of people. Anyways, I just started like I was making these weird noises like I was gagging
Oh,
in the car, like dry heaving, gagging, like,
opening your throat seal.
and then all of a sudden I just belted out this noise that I
Mm,
didn't even know could come from me because it was a sound. I don't want to say it was primal, kind of was. It was the longest like howl
wow.
I've probably ever made. And I just let it rip. And I kept going and going and going. And when I was done, I was like,
What just happened?
what just happened? Thinking, and so my point is, it's different for everyone, but that happened to me, and I'm still having moments where that
Mm,
comes and goes. Oh, the clown chakra. So the whole point was play,
yeah,
like laugh at yourself.
yeah.
How does it feel to howl like a wolf? Did you break your windows? Like, just these these guides that are part of our own psyche, if we want to go psychological, but are
Yeah,
also interdimensional beings. I'm thinking of the Kachinas and all of these beings who have taught us things. We've been them
totally.
in
We are.
previous.
Mhm.
Whew,
Yeah, I love it. They're here. They're huge.
yeah, huge.
Massive. I know. I love it.
When you tune in, that's the other thing is the sense of humor part. I think is so important. Like even for today, like I was very serious. I was like, I gotta talk. I gotta figure this out, and today's the day.
Here we are. Nope. We're figuring more out than we realize. Okay. We're not.
Well, this is kind of that organic unfolding.
Yes. Maybe we're not supposed to figure it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you mentioned that too. Like,
Mhm.
well, that's part of. I just feel like that's part of the lucid dream, right? Like
Not seeing what's coming next. Is that what you mean?
you can see what's right in front of you,
Yeah. And you can see if you want to keep going with that or not.
and you make choices. And I think this does have to do with envisioning, but I do feel like this is part of preparation to prepare us for that instant manifestation, that instant, I don't know, maybe in a future reality or a higher dimension, we can change things with the snap of our finger. But that would be really dangerous
Yeah.
in
And I'm
this particular.
playing board on this board. So you said preparing, and I heard we should look this up. Proselytizing, not proselyting, proselytize. I don't even know if that's a word, but I just heard
Do you know how many non-words I hear? And then I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that's a word.
it sounds like proselyte or but it's proselytize.
Well, we could play with that just for a little bit.
Okay,
Well, let's see, just for fun. Let's pause for just a second.
that feels.
It's interesting. I think it's kind of fun to talk about the words too.
I found it.
Yeah, go for it.
Proselytize. Proselytize. It's a verb. Convert or attempt to convert someone from one belief or opinion to another.
Woo! Let's play with this.
Advocate or promote a belief or course of action. Okay, I just saw this on soapboxes. I heard proselytize, and it went with the word you said, which was we are preparing. And I heard we're preparing to proselytize. So I just heard.
Okay, let's play with this because I think there's multiple meanings to this.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay. So, convert or attempt to convert someone from one religion, belief, or opinion to another. But you saw us standing on soapboxes and doing that?
I did just now. I know.
The irony in that. Now, this is fun to talk about, though. How are we doing on time, by the way?
Good. I've got, what time is it there? Okay. What, oh, I'm
I've got
so
like, okay, I've got about half hour.
great. Yep.
15,
Great.
20. I don't know what I'm doing for dinner yet.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna
fine.
wing it. I'm gonna be in the now. I'm gonna lucidly just kind of
Grab
draw. I'm gonna draw dinner to me. That's to create that. And Jovial's like, yeah, it's already in in your fridge. You already did.
That's awesome. Yeah. You're good.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the irony in this is like it's a double. So first of all, I want to point out the fact that you heard that word. I
Yeah.
love the fact that you heard that word because you know how I love words.
Yeah.
But this is part of because I had somebody ask earlier, like, well, what are you hearing or what are you seeing when you're channeling? And I'm like, well, because they thought I had a very beautifully big vocabulary. I was like, I don't.
You're like, no.
Actually, that's a very big compliment, but
Yeah.
that's another version of me that I'm essentially opening to when I'm speaking. So I can technically, I guess I do, but so basically we get these words that drop in. And I think part of like we've been playing in this way for so long too, and Candace, right, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
that the what I had written about today was the 100th monkey effect. So we're having this like similar impact on each other, like you asking the questions. I maybe that was something that you kind of dropped into my fields and I've absorbed,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm sharing them. So this is how, oh, I'm getting goosebumps, just like our guides. Because when Jess and I, if we decide to share this, when Jess and I first started playing, it was like kind of separate. Like you had your guides, I had my guides. Well, now my guides are your guides and your guides are my guides. And they've probably always been that way. We just didn't necessarily know it. Part of the reason we're probably all playing together in the
Yeah.
way that we do, right? Soul family would make sense they'd have similar guides. But then we have in addition to, right? So now we get to absorb all your team and all of my team, get together and create a bigger team.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what I think happens. So I really wanted to point that out because it's really kind of like osmosis.
Yeah. Like that word. I don't usually get words like you, but now I'm like, oh, maybe because
You've been
I'm,
getting them a lot more.
that's true.
Yeah, I know, which I think is so much fun because then I get to, because I mean, for me, it's like, it's nice to, it's contagious.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's also, I think, really important. Like I feel that this is part of my passion is actually showing other people how to do this. But I think it's important to recognize it in a new way, like standing up on our soapboxes and teaching. Let's go back to that. I think that's part of it, but I also think that this is part of it. What we're
Oh,
doing
totally.
now, right? And I'm preaching to the choir, but for
Yeah.
anybody, so we are teaching,
Yeah. Oh,
we're
yeah.
learning, we're sharing, we're downloading, we're transmitting, and all at the same time, we're working through our own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have all the answers. We're just right along there going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no wrong or right. Like it's just, and that's back to that word, your vision of how you interpret that word,
Mm-hmm.
how I interpret that word might be different.
Yeah.
But we can both use our interpretations and ping off each other to see more meaning and give it more value and have a broader perspective, right?
Yes. Yes.
There's something to this.
There's a word, conversion, that word convert is standing out to me.
Yes. Okay. So if we look at the old paradigm, like there's part of me, and I actually recognize this a lot. Like if we look at the old meaning, like I don't want to stand on my soapbox and preach and convert anyone,
Right.
but that's not how this is working. This is through osmosis.
Yeah. It's rewriting, converting, rewriting, converting.
Yeah. And we don't ever really say this is how you should do things, or I don't know. I feel like the rules are changing
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And so wait, I love that word. Let's go back to that though. So converter attempt, and then that took you deeper into convert. Okay, so let's do this. This is where I like to play.
Yeah. I knew there was something here.
So etymology, I get this. I think you're going to get this too. Comes from the Greek word prosetitos. I'm totally butchering that, which means newcomer or stranger.
Oh,
Now I see that as relevant because you were like, I don't know who I am. right, where I'm going. Like, you know who you are, right? You have a sense of this deeper knowingness that you're feeling into. And because of that, everything is new and different and slightly not quite the same. But I
That's
feel like there's more to this.
okay.
So there is. The word is made up from the Greek prefix. It comes from toward and I come. I
Mm.
come toward. To recruit religious, so they changed it. Or no, they originally was to recruit religious converts.
Huh.
But let's go a little deeper. Whoo! Stranger or newcomer. I love that. Okay, let's go online to this. Oh, I see. So they're taking me to the original one. One who changes from one sect, creed to another. Oh, hello. You gave the definition to what I just said earlier about get ready.
Okay, keep going. Is it get ready for
People are going to be flipping to a new. You just made that, you just spoke this word to describe what I was saying. Get ready. So the
okay. I have full body goosebumps right now. This is great.
so to kind of go back to that, the message I was getting loud and clear this morning was we are people get ready to forget, like, come on over. And years ago I'd written red rover, bring Carrie right over, and like people switching sides. And we
Yeah.
have seen that politically a lot, right? We've seen people go from one side to the other, and then people go from another side to another side. Like I couldn't keep track the other day. I was like, well, are they like red or are they blue? And they're like, well, they used to be blue, but now they're red. Like, well, are they? Well, no, they're blue, but they're now that they used to be, like. So I was like, okay, but this is bigger than all of that.
It's so
It's like this, basically what I had seen in my vision was people are like, you know what? I'm really done like rewriting the contracts. Like I've learned everything. I've been the bad guy and
yeah.
I've done all of these things. I am done. What can I do to help? Like that. And we're going to be like, no, you're not allowed to play in my court because you were the bad guy. And they're going to be like, yeah, but I want to make it right. And girl, guy, doesn't matter.
I'm just
Being,
yeah.
being entity, extraterrestrial, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I'm hearing that's why it's so important to not literally don't write anybody off right now.
I love that. Equally important to use our discernment, though.
Totally. Totally.
So this comes back to feeling, because I think what's going to happen is that is going to confuse a lot of people. And you're going to have people potentially, and I don't even really want to go down this rabbit hole energetically, but really briefly, it's kind of like somebody coming back into our lives that might have wronged us, that we're like, I'm not going to let you do that again. But if we are really from a place of using that discernment and feeling into that, is this real?
Yeah.
We will know that it's real.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I'm getting that some people will falter. Some people will wiffle waffle because I'm hearing they can't help themselves. It's a pattern, it's a habit, and they're just like, I want to do good. And they're like, never mind. But this is big. What I'm being shown is it's bigger than that. It's almost like there'll be some, but there're going to be a lot more that actually stick with it. I'm
Mm.
just being shown a gymnast and they like jump over that hurdle and then they stick it and
Thanks
they're
for
like,
landing.
I'm here. I'm on the other side. I've landed. All right, I'm not going to go over that hurdle again.
Well, we're in the parentheses and we're playing and we're going back and forth a little bit. And sometimes I bet whoever comes back in, we have to give it time, linear time sometimes to know
Yeah.
if when it's going to stick. And that's okay.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. That just was like a big yes.
Yeah.
So it is, and time though, what I'm also being told is, or shown, is like I'm seeing people like, okay, time's up, being impatient, but also recognizing that time doesn't work the way that it did. So things may happen faster than they would have used to. Like
Totally.
we're not saying here, from my perspective, it's not years. It's literally like maybe a few months, even. Let's see how this plays out.
Totally.
Action speaks louder than words. Um, oh, there's a play with that though, which I'll have to come back to and play with that later. But yeah, so I guess this is multi-dimensional meaning here. Because this could be people, right, like our lives, it could be people on the world stage.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but there's a few people that I'm like, ooh, who am I going to have to forgive?
Well,
Am I still holding judgment around?
yeah. So I have one particular person in mind.
I have a few.
Yeah, oh my God. I have a few.
I guess I have some writing to do.
I know, right? Oh my God. Oh. But
Oh.
I'll, yeah, yeah, yes, yes,
But also, it also is, it's what I'm hearing is don't be naive, but do be playful.
yeah, yeah. And not attachment.
Yeah, it's letting go of expectations, really,
Yeah, yeah.
and not being attached to any particular outcome. Because what we might want that person to do, even though they've had, what do they call it, the to Jesus moment?
Totally.
They're like, I'm on board. Speaking of that soapbox, I've decided to convert.
Yes.
This is the play on words, guys. We're not saying convert to anything in particular. This isn't a religious conversation. This is an energetic conversation.
Yeah.
But let's say they're having that moment and they might need, you know, this is the irony in it. It might be that that's they're doing this because it's our opportunity to forgive fully
Mm,
and to fully let go of expectations.
mm,
Ooh, I've got goosebumps everywhere.
that's big. I actually was seeing that we might be the ones to change our minds about something.
Yeah, do go into that a little bit more too, if you wouldn't mind.
Just like I'm having a specific person in mind, and I don't really know if this is true or not, but I'm noticing that there's potentials for myself to go, okay, like, yeah, you really hurt me or whatever, right? But I'm willing to be a friend.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, like I'm not really
It could
here.
look slightly different.
Right. But like we could be the ones to all of a sudden be like, oh, like I don't really need to play that out anymore. Like maybe,
Absolutely. I love that. No, that's where, oh, I've got goosebumps again. So, I love that.
yeah. So
And
like
how do we want it to look? Like we might not want it to look the same way.
mhm. Yeah. Oh, I just got counter. I just had this image of, when people go to mediation and they have like you counter each other. I
No,
see
but
a
tell me
lot.
more.
Okay. Like when somebody, oh, that's interesting. It's like they're bringing contracts into it again. So like if we're supposedly rewriting contracts or whatever, we could say, here's how I want it to look, and then we push it over to them on their side of the table, and then they go, well, how about this revision? And then
Yeah,
back, and then like almost like coming to a different agreement with certain people could
I
be
love that.
part of it.
And contracts in general about how we're living our lives.
Yes, not just
Because
people.
even though I was saying, oh, all contracts, from a regular linear perspective, we all have contracts still because we've got mortgages, or we've got a bank account, or we're married, getting married or getting divorced or whatever it might be. There still are always going to be, from this linear reality, contractual agreements. So I love that you're bringing it back into that vision,
Mhm.
because how can we take that and apply it to our everyday lives versus, oh, we're clearing out all of our old spiritual contracts. We're revising them, as you said earlier. I'm hearing we're upgrading them.
Love that.
So if we're upgrading them, it actually gives us more to work with.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it changes how we're working with it because of the frequency that we're offering coming into the mediation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're coming into it new, as a new person, a new, I heard reborn, like, sorry.
Having the come to Jesus moment, right? Like
Pretty much.
rebirth,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, and
breathing.
we're new, so we're gonna negotiate it different.
And this, I'm seeing this softens the hearts. So if I always see this as actually whenever I'm like in flow with this stuff, I don't know if you do this too, but I think you do sometimes because you're really big on the embodiment. Like I see everything we're talking about on a physical
Yes.
level,
Yeah,
right?
I do
And
too.
then I see it on like a cosmic.
Yes, it always starts here for me. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is rewrite the heart. So remember what things it's written on the heart? Like what's written on the heart is just truth and love and bliss and joy. But we've taken on all of these contracts that aren't really who we are.
Yeah. So I'm hearing rewriting through the heart, like reprogramming. It's like a frequency reprogramming.
It
Yeah.
is. So it comes back to coherence, which is a word that everybody uses a lot. You know, it's used over and over again, and it can mean multiple things. The easiest for, you know, coherence is kind of finding that bliss alignment, which isn't necessarily, it's like not, let's not even use bliss. I know Dan Winters uses the word bliss, and I love how he talks about the heart. And if you guys haven't checked him out, I would highly recommend it as always. But it is a little confusing sometimes. So in simplest terms, we're balancing out this, you know, we were here in this wave, and let's say they were, and we're starting to come into more cohesion with ourselves, which is coherence, right? We're coming into that balanced breathing, we're integrating our emotions, we're feeling what we're feeling, we're coming into a place of, I'm hearing the Ho'oponopono.
Yes. Compassion.
And that's not whenever you do Ho'oponopono, it's not just for them, it's for you because you are them. So, in essence, when you're forgiving all these people, you're forgiving yourself.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
That doesn't mean I want to bring up what you said, which I think is so valuable. That doesn't mean that moving forward, we're going to be like, okay, I'm going to get back together with you. Or, okay, I said this in my video, like, you can, yes, you robbed my house. Come live with us. Apparently,
Right now.
you're in need.
No, no.
Maybe not exactly that,
Right.
but you know, I don't know.
It'll serve the who you are now though. That's what I'm like, it'll really be in service to that now. Whatever you decide the contract to be.
Yeah. And there's something about that too, because when you are, it's kind of like when we're just coming together having these conversations. And I think I love the fact that you said mediation because I feel like that's really, really relevant for what's going to be happening. And I can see what I'm hearing are stubborn. Like there's going to be those people who just can't let it go.
Yes. Totally.
They're going to be like, nope, I'm fighting to the end. This is who I am. They're not in the parentheses. They haven't added up all of the, and from a bigger perspective, that's their choice. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, they're still making a choice.
It's gonna be, what I'm getting is it, for those particular people, it will be a lot more difficult. I literally see them, so symbolic, but I see people like, nope, I'm not letting go of the wheel. And it's like this airplane that just like slams into the ground. Like it's gonna be really difficult.
Yeah.
It's more difficult than it's been in the past for people to do that.
Yeah, because the vibrations have shifted so much. Well, you know, it's going to be easier than it has in the past for others. Like, oh, that was easy.
Snap.
Snap. Yes.
Oh, that's fun.
There's something with that too. I got to look that up. Snap domain. So as you're talking about this too, like I think about how difficult it's been for us even. Like these moments of just like
Feeling like I'm gonna die. I'm not kidding. Like, is this death? Is this
she's
death?
not kidding.
I'm not. Carrie's got my voice messages. Am I dying right now? Is this what
Are
death
you
is?
the irony in that you'd be like, are you hearing me? Am I still alive? I don't know. I do talk to people that are on the other side too. So
Like, you might be dead, Jess.
And you guys, we're not making fun, but part of this is about laughing at ourselves.
Totally,
We're
totally.
making fun of things that aren't fun because realistically, that's what our clown chakra is requesting that we do, to open our voice and laugh.
Thank you, Jovial.
I
Thank you.
was just going to say that.
Yeah.
I don't know the word that I used a minute ago. Shoot.
It was snap.
Oh,
Snap.
yeah. So let's see. Because snap refers to something, not Snapchat, but,
Although that's pretty funny.
right. There's something, about that. I'll have to figure that out later because I think that one's a little, rabbit hole-esque. Like it's something with computers, computer language, or uh, sub-network access protocol. A protocol that allows network protocols like IP to work on common networks like Ethernet and Wi-Fi. Oh, I kind of get that. It works by adding a header to data packets with specifies the type of protocol. So there's something about this. Oh, there's Snap programming language. So I'll look up this later. Snap computer graphics. Oh, snapping allows an object to be easily positioned in alignment with grid lines.
Oh, of course.
And what I heard was snap domain.
Okay. Domain. Okay.
Which means, which we can learn a lot from these. So position in alignment with grid lines, guidelines, or another object by causing it to automatically jump to an exact position when the user drags it to the proximity of the desired position. So that's relevant too. Like if we could get close enough, it is magnetized.
So getting close
About
enough.
this.
Go ahead. Yeah. What does getting close enough mean to you?
Well, I see it as two different things. I see it as a magnet. Like, you know, when you're, first of all, I'm being drawn back to heart coherence. Because
Yes.
when you're in someone's field,
Yeah.
right, and they're in coherence, and they talk about this with yogis and, you know, teachers, ascended masters, people wanted to be around them because they felt good. They
Yes.
made them feel, and it's not that it was just that person radiating that energy. It's a reflection of what's inside of them. Is I'm seeing it being, ooh, I've got goosebumps. So if we are in coherence, enough of us, right, that's going to have a pull. And I'm just seeing a magnetic snap, like it this close, and then, oh, I see you. I feel you. Oh, I feel that way too. And it's again back to this 100th monkey that my guides keep talking about.
And I'm not sure what the 100th monkey is, but I'm sure there's like a short.
Yeah, I did a video on it this morning and I'll
Oh,
share it.
is it published?
In a
Okay.
nutshell, they're saying it's esoteric and it's not necessarily real. And I get it because they don't have specific, like, you know, when you have, it's not linear. You don't have this many subjects to prove this time, and this was proven. It's kind of like Dr. Masaru Emoto and the water experiment. Like they
Yes.
tried to debunk that because it wasn't done under the right. It could have been affected by this or that or this. Like it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't done in
Oh,
hazmat suits with
okay. Yes.
exact. You know, so they couldn't prove
I see. I
that it
see.
was real. But that's kind of the theme. Like a lot of this stuff that we couldn't prove that was real is going to start to show up, and we're going to be like, oh,
Like
that's
it's not going to be logical, or we could have never predicted it. Yeah.
well, that's part of the parentheses too. We don't know what we don't know. So we're adding all of this up, and then we're going to see like, oh, now this is unfolding, and we didn't even realize that that was something that we had access to. So that changes the whole game, inner to outer. And I'm getting this about everything, like our natural resources, our
Mhm.
technology, everything in the next couple of years, we're going to be like, what just happened? But anyways, so back to the Snap chat.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sensing that this, so it's that magnet, it's the, oh, the 100th monkey. So basically one monkey starts washing their sweet potatoes, and then all the other monkeys start washing their sweet potatoes. So they're saying it's learned but the theory is that it started to happen on other
Other areas.
islands, other places. And there's multiple stories about this. So whether it's true or proven or not, let's just play with that for a moment because there is such a thing as quantum
Yeah,
action at a distance.
yeah.
So it's it theoretically, if it's happening and it's in our DNA, we are essentially sending out that signal. I mean, if telepathy is real and remote viewing is real, then what if we're connected telepathically and we're like, hey, guess what? You can do this and it would be easier. And it may not even be a conscious thing. They just start doing it.
Yes. Oh my God. Ooh. There's something about telepathy. Oh my God.
Ooh, okay, we'll do that on another. I gotta make a list.
Yeah, there's something about telepathy in the parentheses. Just gonna say it.
Ooh, okay, let me write that down. Hey,
Yeah.
so what was your thoughts on Snap? Crackle Pop.
Oh, I think you set it up. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
I thought you were, yeah, I didn't mean to.
no, no, no. I think nothing's coming to me in this moment. I think I said it already, but there's something about telepathy. Yeah, in the parentheses. I don't know what that is yet, but we can feel into
We'll
that.
come back to that. Because I
Totally.
do feel like that's something that's gonna be important.
Yeah. Watching our thoughts is important.
Well, and this comes back to what we were talking about too. If we're in our coherence, we're not really gonna have to, our thoughts are going to match that frequency and vibration, right? Or if they don't, we're going to really recognize it and be very aware of it, which is where you're at. You're very aware of that because you had this incredible heart throat activation, but you've always been in your heart. It's just a different.
Totally different. Totally different. Less ego, I feel. Yeah. More clear.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you said that and recognizing that there's nothing wrong with ego. It's just something that we aren't,
Sorry.
like, it's like that. It's almost like they now the ego has been like, no, I want to play on the good side now.
Yes, that's it. Yes. I want to have a story that works for me. Yes.
Let's actually play together. It's like this merge.
Totally.
So I'm slowly melting into my gray background.
I know I'm melting into the floor.
Woo! I think we just burned out all of our receptors.
Yep. I'm good with
I'm gonna
it.
pause for a moment.
Is Ray home?
I think Ray's them. Why don't we end on this note? I'm just gonna we'll sign off. So if we decided to post this, thank you everybody for tuning in. This was so much fun.
An impromptu.
And to be continued, yeah. An impromptu. Double bubble.
Yep.
All right. And in love and light, guys, namaste. Thank you, Jess.